Well, welcome to the 700 Club. The Facebook scandal is taking its toll on its founder and its stock price. CEO Mark Zuckerberg has seen his personal net worth plummet by $10 billion as the stock has dropped and people are joining the hashtag delete Facebook bandwagon.
Ouch. The social network giant has come under fire for not protecting the privacy of its users. And now the United States government plus 37 states want answers. Charlene Aaron has the story.
Facebook is being rocked by claims that your privacy and personal data are up for grabs. The Federal Trade Commission is now investigating the social media giant following a week of privacy scandals, including whether the company engaged in unfair acts that caused substantial injury to consumers. 37 state attorneys general are also seeking answers on how Facebook monitored what app developers did with data collected on Facebook users and whether Facebook had safeguards to prevent misuse. The state attorney of Cook County in Illinois has filed suit against Facebook and Cambridge Analytica for consumer fraud.
This was a major breach of trust, and I'm really sorry that this happened.
Cambridge Analytica, a political data mining firm, is accused of lifting data from some 50 million Facebook users to influence voters in the 2016 elections.
Our responsibility now is to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
The scandal has exposed the lax safeguards at Facebook, app developers allegedly taking advantage of a lack of privacy protections to snag personal data from tens of millions of Facebook users and use that info for politics.
Billions of users are starting to discover what can actually be done with data that seems somewhat innocuous, like baby pictures and, likes of articles that they read somewhere on the internet.
Monday, Facebook was hit by another controversy after revelations that the social media network has been storing tons of contact information of Android users. The company acknowledges that in 2015, it began uploading call and text logs from phones running Google's Android system through its Messenger app and later through Facebook Lite. The fallout involving Facebook has many, including Apple's Tim Cook, calling for new privacy laws. But some say they don't see a plan from Facebook.
What I heard was a set of aspirations and a desire to earn back the trust of its users. What's problematic about that is that Facebook really hasn't changed its business model since its inception, which is it harvests the data of its users and it sells that data to advertisers, or in this case, to let an academic researcher in England use data which he in turn sold to Cambridge Analytica.
Meanwhile, after word of the FTC investigation, Facebook's stock has plummeted by more than $70 billion. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
The story has a lot of ramifications. If you've ever used Facebook to sign in to another app, did you realize that you were sharing all of your Facebook information with that app developer? And then if you're an Android phone user, do you really want the metadata on all your texts, all your phone calls? So who you called, how long you talked, all within your Facebook profile. These are privacy issues, and as I understand it, there wasn't full disclosure on what Facebook was going to do with the data or how it was going to use the data. But quite clearly, there's a profile, and they're selling that information to advertisers. It's going to be a long year for Facebook, in my opinion, and we're going to see more of this hashtag delete Facebook. In other news, Russia is facing a global crackdown for its bad behavior. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. President Trump is kicking out 60 Russian diplomats from the United States to show solidarity with America's allies around the world after a nerve gas attack in the United Kingdom. The White House says the ousted Russians are all spies, according to the Associated Press. The U.S. also closed the Russian consulate in Seattle, which was deemed a counterintelligence threat.
The ability of Russia to spy on Americans and conduct covert activities that threaten America's national security.
About 20 Western countries have expelled more than 135 Russian diplomats. That includes nearly 24 in the United Kingdom. The nations are punishing Moscow for its alleged poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in Great Britain. Well, the FBI is investigating the delivery of suspicious packages sent to the military and intelligence facilities here in Washington, D.C. Half a dozen packages were shipped through the mail. They all contained explosive components. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Each of the packages has been collected for further analysis. Well, a Holocaust survivor has been killed in Paris in an apparent anti-Semitic act of murder. The Times of Israel reports that the 85-year-old Jewish woman was stabbed 11 times and then set on fire. Police have arrested a Muslim neighbor and a homeless man in the case. Last year, a similar anti-Semitic murder took place in France when the killer shouted Allahu Akbar as he threw a woman out of a window. Well, Turkey is partnering with Islamic jihadists to conquer territory in neighboring Syria. It's the latest sign of the radical Islamist agenda being rolled out by Turkey's President Erdogan. Now Christians from the town of Afrin are running for their lives, chased down by bloodthirsty terrorists. Chris Mitchell has their story.
As the battle over Afrin grew closer to the city, many Christians found themselves in grave danger. This is a church service of the Christians crying out to God for deliverance as Turkish and Islamic forces drove towards Afrin. Charmaine Hedding, the founder of the Shai Fund, helping the persecuted church in the Middle East, kept in touch with many of these Christians.
A lot of information was coming to them that when these different people who came in who support this radical Islamic ideology that we've seen with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, that they would behead the Christians and they would kill them. And because many of these Christians were originally Muslim background believers, they were particularly going to be targeted.
CBN News has also learned of an added danger. Jihadists broke into the church, found pictures of some believers, and distributed them. They're now hunting them down door to door.
They say our situation is very dangerous and we don't know what to do because they found photos in the church building, and he said they are searching for the believers now in Afrin. So he's the man, he's crying, he don't know what to do, so we need to really pray that God to protect them.
Hedding says most of the Christian families have found safe haven, but says the church in the West needs to pray for its fellow believers in distress.
They should pray for their safety. They should pray that these families will be able to stay together, because in these chronically desperate situations where masses of people are fleeing, families can get lost and little ones can get hurt. So we need to pray for these families that they'll be able to stay together.
Kamal Sito of the Society for Threatened Peoples told CBN News the West needs to help.
USA Christians have to help Kurds in North Syria, as well in Turkey, Iraq, and Iran. It's very, very important to support Kurdish people in this situation, to protect Kurds, because we need Kurds as allies in the fighting against radical idea in Middle East.
Hedding says what is taking place in Afrin is ethnic cleansing on a massive scale.
We know from what the statements that they've made that they want to get rid of the people in this area and bring in other people from Syria. So it's a population displacement.
Following the battle over Afrin, many Middle East observers feel Turkey and these Islamic groups will continue to expand and try to conquer more territory. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. And Gordon, as Chris just said, prayers and help needed for the Christians there in Afrin.
And we also need to be very aware of the rise of Turkey right now. We've been reporting on several stories that are very disturbing about an increase in their desire to resume the Ottoman Empire, to resume the caliphate, to be the head of all of that, and to go back to the borders and how they were before World War I. And if that's their stated goal, they've talked about raising an Islamic army to attack Israel. What happened in Turkey after World War I, an ethnic cleansing of monumental proportions, where they either killed or kicked out every single Christian in the country. And then you add to that, before World War I, the Armenian massacres, the genocide of Armenia. when this gets unleashed again, I don't think we're prepared for it. But will we respond to it? That's going to be the question. And are we going to respond now with prayers? But from a diplomatic standpoint, Turkey is an anchor country in the NATO alliance. If they continue down this path, what will NATO do?